guys, Tighebo here. We're back with more Five Nights with Harry by Harry LaFertz. We are on chapter 23, and I figured we'd still be in Hogwarts. Well, technically this isn't Hogwarts, but Harry's back at Hogwarts, so we're at like a magical school thing. So instead of where we usually are, because it kind of got boring just going around an empty house. So we here instead doing fun stuff, learning magic and that. So yeah. Anyway, hey, back to this story. If you want to follow along, chapter link will be in the description below as always. And I believe last chapter Harry got back to Hogwarts. We had a special guest or surprise cameo by who I think is supposed to be Cupcake, or although she's calling herself Cupcake. And yeah, I think that's about it. Anyway, let's get right into the chapter. Rose blinked a bit and looked down at the hyperventilating night guard before giving Bonnie a look. Did you really just jam the door button with jam? Seriously? With an innocent look, Bonnie licked some of the reddish substance from his lips as he shoved the jar further behind him. No? Wherever did you get that idea from, Rose? The bear animatronic was just unamused as she pointed behind him. I can see the jar of jam you're holding behind your back, Bonnie. It's right there. However, the rabbit just looked from side to side and shifted the jar further behind him. I really do not know what you are getting such an idea from, Rose. I have no jam, was not eating it, nor would I jam the door button with it. Closing her eyes as if in pain, Rose let out a sigh before she grabbed the bottle of window cleaner and quickly wiped the button as Bonnie hopped out whistling and eating more jam. God damn it, Bonnie. As she shook her head, Rose reached down and gently pulled the night guard to her feet. Really sorry about this. This guy's really cool at times. Still gasping, the night guard held up a hand. That's okay. Just clap. They're not going to stuff me into a suit. Her eyes shifting away, Rose nodded. Yeah, thankfully. If anything, her expression became highly unamused as she looked towards the opposite window. Really, Chica? Really? As she blinked, Chica stopped flapping around the pizza box. Cupcake, though, rushed forward and slammed the door shut. No! Go away, Duck Duck! I don't want to eat! Now really confused, Rose looked at the guard. Wait, Duck Duck? You call her the... With a nod, Cupcake clutched her flashlight to her chest. Yes, because she's a duck. And her glare, so creepy, like it looks into your very soul. For several moments, Rose stood there and blinked. Then she looked off to the side and looked out and let out a low whistle. Okay then, I'll just be going then, far away from the office. Right. Once she was out of the office, Rose began to walk down the hall and got to the junction where she stopped as Foxy and Freddy walked past, with the fox animatronic with a wagon behind him. However, this that lit that was not what caught Rose's attention. As she turned on one foot and held up one finger. Wait just one moment. But Foxy and Freddy stopped and turned back to Rose as the bear made a sound like it was clearing his throat. Yes? Slowly blinking her eyes, Rose held up two fingers. One, are those actual boxes of biscuits that you two have in that wagon that Foxy's pulling? Foxy looked down and nodded. Aye, it'd be cookies. Good biscuits as well. Suddenly he grinned a bit as the light glinted off his teeth. Would you be wanting some that last? As long as they not be costing much. Blinking slowly still, Rose shook her head. No, not at this time, but... She looked Foxy up and down and furrowed her eyebrows some before she pointed at him. Finally, are you actually wearing an American Girl Scout uniform? Once more sharing a look with Freddie, who shrugged, Foxy turned back to Rose and readjusted his sash. That'd be right. It's one of them American Girl Scout uniforms. All was silent as Rose desperately tried to fit it in her head before she clenched her eyes shut. The next thing she did was pinch her nose and let out a slow breath. Why are you wearing one? Better, where in the name of all of that is bloody holy did you even get one, let alone in your size? The fox had a giant frown a bit as he readjusted his hat. I'd be wearing this here get up because how else would one sell cookies at the door? Her expression deadpan, Rose grimaced. Of course. How else? As if he had not heard her, Foxy continued. As to where, I'd be getting it from Michelle through Veronica. I'd be asking her for help, and she sent it. With a stare, Rose threw her paws up into the air. That just begs further questions. Like how she managed to find one, and at your size on such short. You know what? Bloody fuck it. I give up. Shannon pointed down the hall. There's fucking with the guard, and then there's this. Rose then held her paw above her head. The amount of scurrying around in this place is too damn high. I'm out. Then she disappeared, and Freddie shook his head. She is pretty tightly wound. Beside him, Foxy nodded. Aye, that's she be. Then grinned a bit. Let's go see if the guard would open up to buy some of me cookies. Nodding, Freddie turned. Great idea. I'll knock on the window to catch her attention. The slam of a phone against its cradle sounded through the room before a spooky voice spoke up. You know, Michelle is enough like you that annoying her will make her pissed off enough to do something, right? And that something will very likely be designed specifically to piss you off right back. With a growl, Mike Smith turned in his chair and looked at the spectre in the room. Said spectre was not unlike, unknown to them, Aya in looks, except her form was that of a child. Whatever she gets up to do, so won't be that bad. He then laid back and massaged the scar that was on his head. I'm doing this because I love my daughter and want the best for her. Faith only blinked before she rolled her eyes. Right, sure you are. Her hand waved in the air. Besides, she's taking courses to become a teacher, Mikey. You really need to harp on her over and over to get a job? Getting up, Mike began to pace as he threw his hands into the air. Of course I do. She needs to have job experience, and no one will hire her if she doesn't. Hell, even when she has her degree, it might be a lot of time before she gets an actual teaching job. So she might as well pad her resume now rather than later when she actually needs it. Holding her face in her hands, Mike's face sighed. Like talking to a combination of a brick wall and a petulant child. That caused Mike to turn around and glare at her. Hey! All Faith did was shake her head as she floated up to his face level. Look, Mike, she's practically in college now. Let her make her own mistakes and learn some lessons. College and such is when a person is supposed to learn who they are and their place in the world and cut loose a little. Mike showed a moment later that he had a serious case of foot-in-the-mouth disease with his next words. What would you know about college? You died when you were 13. He winced as he realized what he said, but before he could say anything, the unamused face grabbed his cheek and glared into his eyes. That was bloody damn low, Mike. Really damn low. Slumping back into his chair, Mike rubbed his nose with his fingers as he tried to ignore the coldness where Faith had touched him. Sorry about that. It's just, I'm worried about her future and don't want her to get stuck in a situation like I did. Once more, Faith rolled her eyes as she settled down towards the floor. Mikey, you're not the only one who cares about her future. Bloody hell, I've practically taken care of and watched over her, visibly mine, since the day she was born. In some ways, she's as much as my daughter as she is yours, and Dole. But I'm willing to let her live a little before she settles down. Who knows? She might find someone for that. She crossed her arms and snorted a bit. As for a situation like yours, I doubt very much that Michelle will get in a situation where she will deal with evil animatronics. Then that doll poked her head in and adjusted her red-rimmed glasses. Something wrong in here? Before Mike could say anything, Faith closed her eyes and waved her off. Nah, he's Mikey being his usual sleep overprotective asshole self in regards to Michelle. He was harping on her to get a job again. That caused Joel to sigh and shake her head. Oh, Mikey. She ignored his grumbling as she suddenly smiled. Anyway, I baked some cookies. You want some? Faith's eyes widened before she shared a look with Mike. The two grinned as she leapt into his body and he stood up with his eyes black except for white pupils. We do. Dropping back onto her bed, Michelle groaned. My dad is such an asshole. On the chair, Rose looked up from the book she was reading. What did he do this time? As she crossed her arms across her chest, Michelle glared at the ceiling. He's bugging me to get a job. I know that he's looking out for me, but it still pisses me off. She sighed a bit and looked towards Rose. Anyway, enough of that. How are things at Freddy's with the new guard? Rose flipped the page before she answered. Cupcake's had enough. I keep calling her Cupcake. Quake, said Cupcake. Cupcake's had enough of everything, so she's moving to the day shift. Probably look before you night guard in a few days. For a moment, Michelle nodded before she stopped and a grin slowly spread over her face. Wait, so there's going to be a job opening there, huh? At the tone of her voice, Miss Rose paused in her reading and looked up. You're not seriously considering what I think you are you? The only answer she got back was a grin and a chuckle. Snarling, Aya paced in front of Harry as she clenched and unclenched her fists. Above her, the black mass quivered and pulsed as its normal sounds were all muted as it shared her anger. We are going to kill her. We will not stand for this. I might just, uh, for the I might do the we, because that sounds better. And, like, I don't have to say we, but it's there. If you're reading along the chapter, then you will see it, but yeah. With a sigh, Harry rubbed his hand a little, glancing around the empty common room beside them and his two best friends. As much as I would love to see Umbridge get hers, I don't see how you can do that without breaking down everything on her head. She gets killed, then the Ministry will investigate. A growl ripped its way out of the specter's throat as she stopped. She still has to pay. That bitch tortured you. Harry just rubbed his eyes and leaned back into his chair with a tired expression. I know. And I'm pretty sure that I won't be the only one that she's going to do this to. The question is what we can do. He waved his hand around. Keeping the tension just for pointing out that you could fight if a dark wizard or witch attacks us until orders arrive. No Death Eaters are vulnerable. Just that. Even when she tries to trap me. Beside him, Hermione shifted a little as she kept an eye on where Harry was looking, even though she could only see a barely there shadow. Well, it didn't help when you asked her by stating such she thought that the Death Eaters out there could be dangerous. Slowly, Ron chuckled a bit. Yeah, that was really awesome. A grimace crossed his face. So she gave you this attention for disrespecting the teacher. As he groaned, Harry rubbed his face. We don't even have the teachers giving any real support at the moment. Hey hell, McGonagall just wants to keep our heads down to not antagonize her. Like that will happen since she keeps antagonizing us to try and make us say something. With a sigh, he shook his head. And then you have the fact that the Ministry and the Prophet has been hammering into people's heads that I'm crazy, which means that they're, which means they're less likely to listen to anything I say. Pausing, Anne slowly twisted her neck around 180 degrees, much to Harry's discomfort. He did have his limits after all. Say that again? The last bit about being crazy? That just caused Harry to raise his eyebrows a bit. What, about them having made everyone think that I'm crazy? Slowly, Anne grinned as she pointed at him, the gas beside him telling Harry that Hermione and Ron could finally see her. Exactly. People do not listen to those who they think are crazy. Despite her unease at the sight of Aya, Hermione swallowed some. Are you suggesting making people think that Umbridge has lost it? At Aya's nod, the witch frowned a bit. But how? No one is going to take our word for it, and anything that we do to try and make her act crazy will be easily traced back to us. A moment later, Hermione leaned back in her chair and slammed her scouts her hands down to the cushions, much to the witch's discomfort as she could see the areas compressed. No, you can't, but we, on the other hand. Her eyes glowed a bit, and her ears grinned a bit. I'm scared, Toad. Waking up in a cold sweat from her nightmare, Albert shuddered a bit. Those awful little things. Ugh, must have been something that I ate. Shaking it off, she got up and headed to her bathroom, not noticing the delicious grinning air nor the mutters from the shadows. After she entered the bathroom, she turned on the lantern and began to splash her face. Suddenly, she heard a giggle behind her and whipped around with her hood in her hand. Who's there? Another giggle could be heard as she scanned the room. Show yourself! It was then that she noticed something from the corner of her eye and looked in the mirror. There was what looked like a toy version of a little boy, but its skin seemed to be furred, mostly decayed, as it grinned at her ghastly. The hairs on Umber's neck began to rise as she turned and saw the bee in her door. Then it leapt at her. Scream! A scream ripped out the miniature worker's throat as she threw herself back and shut off the spell as she closed her eyes. After she could hear something crash and opened her eyes to find herself alone in the room except for a hole in the wall that still smoked. Still shaking, Umbridge got to her feet and walked into her room. It wasn't there. It wasn't there. Just a dream. There was a chattering sound that caused Dolores to flip her lit wand around, only to see a rotted bear-like thing lunge at her with a roar that deafened out her screams. She would not be getting much sleep between the strange illusion and the nightmares that haunted her slumber. Nor did she get any sleep the next night as it all repeated. Foxy slowly poked his head out from his curtains and glanced at the camera at his coat. He could hear the recording from Phone Guy playing in the security office. Seems like the new guard is not bad. However, none of the other Tories had seen the new guard as they walked in with a hoodie on. With one final look, Foxy leapt from Pirate's Cove and rushed down the hallway. Scream! His screech was cut off by an air horn inches from his face that caused him to jerk backwards and to fall. For several moments, Foxy lay there as he blinked before Michelle's face filled his vision as she grinned. Hey there, Foxy. She then looked up and waved at the other Antites who had rushed up to see what had happened. Hi guys, how are things going with you? It was she that put it together first as she spotted the Freddy Fazbear's security uniform. Shelley? You're the new night guard? With a chuckle, Michelle nodded some. That's right. Got hired just this afternoon, actually. A moment later, the breath was driven from her lungs as Chica picked her up in a hug. Ha! Great to see you, too, Chica. Below them, Foxy struggled a bit. Get off of me, lass. You'll be crushing this poor fox. Suddenly, everything was quiet as Chica looked at him with pitch black eyes. Are you calling me fat, Foxy? All Foxy did was blink. I don't know, but you'll not be getting any lighter now, will it? Be ya? Now be ya. Michelle winced after being put down as Chica picked up Foxy and then flung him down the hallway. I'm not fat, you dumb fox. Shaking her head, Michelle dusted herself off some and Freddie and Bonnie walked up. All three ignoring how Chica raced into the still disoriented Foxy verbally. So, you're going to be a permanent night guard then, Michelle? Nodding, Michelle smiled right back. Yeah, my old man kept bothering me to go out and get a job. The rest told me that this place was hiring a night guard again. So, spreading out her arms, Michelle grinned. Here you have. Bonnie grinned a little as he hugged her, more gently than she had. This is so awesome. We're going to have so much fun at night now. Slapping his hands on Bonnie's shoulders, Freddie nodded. Ha! Of that there's no doubt. Leaning back on the couch, Lisa only raised an eyebrow at the cackling Michelle as she wrote an address on an envelope. Are you seriously doing that, Michelle? You do realize that you were likely to give your dad a heart attack, right? With a raised eyebrow as she attached some stamps, Michelle shrugged and pulled one finger in the air. And your point being what, exactly? Slowly blinking, Lisa sighed and then rolled her eyes. Only you and your dad, Michelle. Only you and your dad. Once more cackling, Michelle slipped in the letter before she grabbed a photo. It showed her in her new uniform standing in front of the main show stage at Freddy's. Behind her, near their signature poses, was the We're the Fazbear Gang outside of Foxby's. Michelle's picture had a piece of cardboard and was grinning. On the cardboard was written first day on job, 1 hour before shift. Shaking her head, another cackle escaped from Michelle as she imagined the expression on her father's face when he got it. Oh, this is gonna be good. Just a shame that I'm not gonna be there to see it. Lisa simply sighed as she watched Michelle put the photo into the envelope inside the letter so it would slip out when someone pulled the letter out. This is probably going to end real well, I could tell. Here Michelle still cackling. Lisa went back to her book and buried her face into it. And people wonder about my sanity. Harry was laying back on his bed with Veronica beside him and his Aunt Rose on the end of the bed as Aya had gone somewhere else. Where the Spiker had gone, none for you. However, at the moment, Harry had something else on his mind. Now, I've been wondering. Blinking, Rose looked up and tilted her head. Huh, so that is burning. All her nephew did was give her, it says him, but I think it's supposed to be her, a look. Ha ha. That was hilarious, Aunt Rose. The golden bear grinned a bit and bowed away from where she sat. Anyways, I know that Freddie is a singer and she Jersey's backup. But what would your position have been, Aunt Rose, or Veronica when she was working for Freddie? For a moment, the two shared a look before Veronica nodded. Well, as an entertainer, I was a singer and also played an instrument. Rose? Laying back, Rose hummed a bit as she scratched her chin in thought. Never actually got to play in a band, you know. I got an okay voice, mind you, but I did have a love of a particular instrument. Not really interested, Harry sat up and leaned forward as he looked at the two. Really? What instruments did you two play? Both spring suits and Frank shared a look before Veronica blinked. Honestly, I would love to show rather than just tell. Actually, now it was her turn to sit up as her tail wagged a little. Hogwarts doesn't have a music room, does it? Thoughtful, Harry frowned a bit before he shook his head. You know, I really don't know. A grin then crossed his face, but I do know who might. Poking his head out of the bed curtains, Harry looked around and whispered, Dobby? With a pop, Dobby appeared and was about to start shouting when Harry held a finger up to his lips. Knowing what he wanted, Dobby whispered loudly, Mr. Harry Potter, what Dobby become? What does Mr. Harry Potter want with Dobby? Looking around, Harry smiled at the house elf. Dobby, you wouldn't know if Hogwarts has a music room or something, do you? Dobby frowned a bit and then shook his head sadly. Sorry, sir, no music room in Hogwarts. Then he suddenly brightened. Maybe the common bedroom or maybe the requirement have music things. Intrigued. I think it's supposed to be intrigued. Harry leaned forward a bit. Come and go room. Room requirement. Nodding so fast his head looked like it was about to fall off, Dobby began to explain. And that was how Harry found himself in the seventh floor corridor an hour later, pacing back and forth near a tapestry showing a wizard attempting to teach trolls ballet. A moment later a door appeared, and Harry glanced at a poster which his aunt used to appear. She was followed a second later by Veronica, with Dobby, with the group entering the room together. Looking around, Harry let out a low whistle at the instruments there. Oh, wow. This is amazing. The house elf snapped his fingers and all the dust and grime vanished, with the instruments in perfect condition. Very sad, man, but Dobby needs to go to work. With a nod from Harry, Dobby left the room silently. Veronica walked up, and trailed a hand along the piano. And I used the suction lead that I would use. Much to Harry's surprise, she pulled up a stool, I think it's supposed to be a stool, and sat down before moving her fingers across the keys. Soft music drifted through the room for a moment before she nodded. In excellent condition. Picking up a saxophone, Rose played some tunes herself before she stopped and nodded. Magic is amazing thing. For a brief moment she stroked the instrument and thought, Who's my own sax though? Stunned, Harry looked at them both. Wait, you guys can play the piano and saxophone? As she chuckled, the first nodded. I loved jazz when I was alive. still do, actually. I begged Mom and Dad to let me take some lessons. We didn't have all too much money for the most part, but one of Dad's friend's old army buddies was a player and taught me for free. There was a slight wistfulness in her voice as she continued. I was actually pretty good at it, too. Played at one of the local clubs to pocket the change. From where she sat, Veronica shook her head. I learned as a little girl. My grandmother taught me how to play over many nights. Never could have gone professional, I think. But I was pretty good. Walking up, Harry hugged his aunt first, with her placing one arm around him. After a few minutes, he walked over to Veronica and hugged her as well. While he was not what one would call a huggy person, there were times he liked to hug. I'd love to hear you both play, you know. Asking Sherry looked with Rose, Veronica tapped her chin. How about we do that song for that movie that Michelle brought in? The one with the lion? We need to see the sheet music for it. After all, when Freddie's asked for it, so it's in our databank. Now that you thought, Rose finally nodded before she chuckled. Sounds good. There's one good thing about being what we are. Our skills don't degrade at all. Now really interested, Harry leaned against the wall and Veronica placed the opening notes to Can You Feel the Love Tonight before Rose joined in with her sax. Both musicians closed their eyes as they played, as Harry simply enjoyed them playing just for him. Walking into the home with a stack of mail, Mike grabbed his mug and began to sip as both him and Faith sorted through the mail. Bill, 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 advertisement, Bill, Bill's library, Sensible magazine, Lord's by title of the week magazine, of the week package, letter from Michelle. That caused Mike to raise an eyebrow as he opened the letter. That's odd. Usually she just phones me. Picking up the letter itself and ignoring the picture, Mike began to read it with faith to yell at him. Seems that she's finally given in and got a job somewhere. That's good. Faith just winced a bit. I don't know, Mikey. Is this Michelle? If she just gave in like that? As he sighed, Mike put down the letter as he reached for the envelope. What are you worried about? Crossing her arms, Faith shook her head. Uh-huh. You remember how pissed off she's been getting with you harping on and on about her getting a job, right? And yet she suddenly gave in and sent you a letter for it? That just does not scream suspicious to you? At Mike's raised eyebrow as he pulled out the picture, Faith waved a hand in the air. She's like you, Mike. If anything, she's likely gotten some kind of job that will get you utterly pissed off at her. If anything, that caused Mike to pause for a moment in thought. Like what exactly? Looking at the ceiling, Faith hummed a bit. Hmm. Maybe she's working at the British version of Hooters or something like that? He sounded dry. Mike only watched her with a dead-hand expression on his face. Even though I have not lived in Britain for more than a decade, I'm pretty sure that there is nothing like that there, or that my daughter would work in such a place no matter how pissed off she was at me. Mike then blinked and grunted. What the hell was that the first thing that you thought of anyway? All Faith did was blink for a moment before some expression crossed her face. Mikey, are you like shitting me? You know my preferences. Fighting off a headache, Mike took a deep breath and then crossed his eyes as he pinched the bridge of his nose. Right, forgot that. Once he shook it off, he grabbed the photo and looked at it before he stared. About a minute later, Faith snapped her fingers. Yo, Mikey! Mikey! Not getting a reaction besides his eyebrows twitching. Faith looked up onto his shoulder. What's the big deal? For several moments, she stared at the photo of Michelle in a very familiar uniform in front of a stage that had three familiar animatronics. Ah, well, there would be the other shoe dropping, I suppose. Throwing the picture down, Mike rushed off as Faith held on. Don't! I need a ticket to London ASAP! I'm saving our baby! Mike sped down the road as he looked at his clock. Damn that pilot for being late. Damn that fucking security at the airport. Damn that fucking car rental company. In the passenger seat, Faith yawned as she leaned against the window and looked out. At this rate, you'll run out of people to damn. The car slammed to a stop, and the Spectre was flung through the dashboard. A few minutes later, she drifted back in and sat back in her seat and she scowled at him. Now that was uncalled for. All Mike did was continue to drive. Bite me. There was a glint in Faith's eyes as she leaned forward. Hmm, but what would Dole think of that? Now there's a thought. Too bad that I'm not very interested in that sort of thing, though. His teeth grinding, Mike glared at her as he felt the urge to suddenly stop again. My daughter is in danger. Unrepentant, Faith yawned. You're going to be putting this nice car in danger with your bloody idiotic driving. Then she tapped her chin. Not to mention elevating your blood pressure, and at your age, that's probably not a good thing outside the bedroom. With a glare, Mike turned towards her. Don't you even care that Michelle is at Freddy's and is in danger of the robotic freaks killing her? I thought that you cared for her like a second mother. There was an answered glare on Faith's face. Don't ever dare to imply that I don't care about her. Or do you not remember that bastard wolf thing that came me mad when I killed him when she was 6? Or how she would not be here today if I had not stepped in when she was born? Michelle had her cord wrapped around her neck when I reached in and unwrapped it and held her just enough to get her out. All without the doctors and nurses seeing Mike. I fucking gave her a piece of myself that day so that she would live. Silence descended in the car with the only sound being Faith's breathing, even though she no longer needed to. As he sighed, Mike looked over at her. I'm sorry, Faith. You're right. I shouldn't have said that. He only got a glare on his brow. Damn fucking straight, Mike. Suddenly she pointed ahead. Oh, by the way, watch out for that truck. That truck. Whipping around, Mike saw the truck barreling towards him just as it began to honk the horn and swerved out of the way with curses flying out of his mouth. Once he got his breathing under control, he growled a bit. Look, I'm just worried about her. That's all. Faith slowly nodded with a glint in her eyes. I know, which is why I'm taking it easy on you and won't tell Dole about this. But like I said, I gave her a piece of myself the day that she was born, Mikey. That means I can tell you that she was in extreme danger, especially with how close we are. And honestly, I'm not getting that feeling. I disbelieving look with Spectre shrugged. She's her father's daughter, you know? Raising an eyebrow, Mike frowned a bit as he kept his eyes on the road. You are sure of this? As she leaned back into the car seat, Faith put her feet up onto the dashboard. More positive, dull, and sexy. That is a lot. A little gross, he looked at her. I wish you wouldn't say things like that. It's kind of creepy. Rolling her eyes, Faith scoffed. Doesn't make it any less true, Mikey. I thought he died when I was 12, and that weird puppet tried to stuff my body into the bloody girl version of the little boy. That's no idea why, though. So it had to leave me hanging out partially, and then the manager found my body and got rid of it. Finally, they reached their destination, and Mike pulled his crowbar out of the trunk of the car before he headed toward the door. Just as he swung the crowbar, Faith caught it and looked at him. What are you doing? Mike tried to yank the crowbar free, but failed as he grunted. Breaking down the door. What else? Pitching her nose, Faith kept one hand on the crowbar before she looked up and smiled. Awesome idea, Mikey. Let's try to break down the door that has bullets and shatterproof glass on it. Protecting Michelle from rushing the cameras and trusting the animatronics. Brilliant. So simply, positively brilliant. Easily looking at her, Mike blinked. So you don't like it then? Shaking her head from side to side, she looked at him, up at him with a wide-eyed look. Oh no! Like I said, I think that your idea is especially brilliant. Wherever would you get the idea that I counted among one of your most idiotic? There was silence. There was silence before Mike pointed at her. That's the most sarcastic tones that you've ever taken with me. With her eyes still wide, Faith shook her head. Oh, I have no idea what you're talking about, Mikey. But, I would think that you could instead use some of the skills from your dispense use and, take the damn lock. Grumbling, Mike pulled out a lockpick and went to work. It was only a few seconds before the door near silently opened and he walked in before he whispered to Faith. Okay, let's get to the office now. Both of them snuck along the hallway before the kids could stop in front of the office door. Faith blinked and then pointed inside. Mike? He slowly nodded, so she continued, "Where's Michelle?" Suddenly they heard a scream of rage, and the two rushed down the hall, saying the same thing at the same time. "Michelle!" They reached the party room and came to a stop in the entryway when they noticed that Michelle was surrounded by the inner giant. Mike and Faith were about to rush at the Fazbear gang when they noticed that they were all at a table with what looked like a Monopoly board in front of them as Michelle tried to pull out her hair. "What the hell, Freddy? What the hell?" With a grin, the bear leaned back. Pay up, Michelle." It was then that they heard a scream and turned to see Mike as he dropped the crowbar. What the fucking bloody hell is going on here?" Beside him, Faith blinked. Faith blinked before her eyes closed halfway as she gestured at the scene in front of them. "Actually, my dear Mikey, it seems that there is a completely utterly unexpected board game in front of us." And that's the end of chapter 23. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the chapter. If you did, leave a like. Uh, go leave a review. You don't have to have an account. You can leave a review as a guest. It just means the author can't respond back to you. And who knows, maybe it will bring them back. It's been years since they updated this thing. So, but yeah. And what you do, if you do leave a review, come back and tell me what you think about the story. But do review first, then come back. I don't want to know if you don't leave a review. But yeah, and also be sure to subscribe. I upload new videos every Friday. Also, if you want to see the other chapters, there there is a playlist as well. If you want to like see the whole thing, so you can click that because there should be a link somewhere on the screen now where you can click. Anyway, I will see you next Friday with a new video.